Here is the polished English version of your introduction. Everyone is listening to the story on The Ambiguous Heart, wishing you moments filled with deep emotion and heartfelt connection. Today, we enter episode 3 of The Fallen King, a heartbreaking basketball romance story, where the truth is finally revealed, the enemy steps into the light, and love is forced to confront its deepest darkness. The vast penthouse that once symbolized glory is now filled only with the cries of a newborn intertwined with the heavy breathing of an exhausted man. Kylan Drexler, the former NBA basketball star, sits on the sofa, worn down to the bone. He cradles the newborn in his arms, the child whose eyes resemble Emily's so painfully. No one could have believed it. The man whose name once echoed across America now sits alone in silence, sleepless with an infant and a shattered heart. Emily is gone, again, without a message, without an explanation. She left behind only their son and vanished as if she had never existed. But the real storm arrived 24 hours later. Marcus sent an email. Inside were countless videos, files, and messages. Emily handing a USB to one of Marcus's subordinates, a bank account receiving money from one of his shell companies, security footage of her sneaking into Kylan's office, a message, "Don't forget your mission." The final line made his blood run cold. She never loved you. She only played her role before bringing you down. Kylan crushed the phone in his grip until his knuckles turned white. He didn't want to believe it, but all the evidence pointed straight at him, like cold, sharp blades. Jordan came the next morning and placed a hand on his shoulder. "Kylan, you have to prepare yourself. Maybe she really—" "No." Kylan cut him off, his voice hoarse from sleepless nights. "Emily isn't that kind of person." But the moment he said it, his chest tightened. He remembered the times she cried, the times she looked at him as if she wanted to say something, but couldn't. Maybe she truly was being forced. Maybe she had no choice. He looked down at the baby sleeping in his arms. If she was a traitor, why would she give birth to his child? Why would she leave alone and abandon their son behind? No, it couldn't be. He whispered into the soft hair of his baby, "I won't believe anything until your mother says it to me herself." 6 months passed. Kylan never returned to the court. He gave no interviews. He disappeared completely from public view. He vanished from the NBA, just as Emily vanished from his life. For 6 months, people only saw Kylan carrying his child through the streets of Portland, asking strangers if they had seen Emily, collecting every tiny fragment of a clue, living like a ghost, searching relentlessly for the woman who shattered his heart and took half of his soul with her. The living room turned into an investigation war room. Traffic camera footage, taxi license plates, maps of every route Emily might have taken, information about remote mountain areas where she might be hiding. One day, Jordan visited him again. Looking at the walls covered in maps and notes, he choked back his words. "Kylan, you can't keep destroying yourself like this. Emily is gone. You have to accept the truth." Kylan lifted his head, his eyes exhausted yet sharp as blades. "I will accept the truth when I hear it from Emily's own lips." Jordan was about to speak again when a knock echoed at the door. A strange man with a bruised face stepped inside. He trembled as he looked at Kylan. "Are you Kylan Drexler?" Kylan stood up, pulling his child tightly to his chest. "Who are you?" The man swallowed hard. I'm the one Emily saved. She's still alive." The man standing at the door had a deathly pale face, the panicked eyes of someone who had been running from death for days. Jordan immediately grew cautious, placing a hand on Kylan's shoulder to signal him to step back, but Kylan only tightened his hold on his son and asked, "You said Emily is still alive? Where did you see her?" The man panted, sweat rolling down his temples. I was being hunted by Marcus. He thought I betrayed him because I knew too much. I ran. I thought I was going to die. If not for her." "Her?" Kylan's voice trembled in a way he couldn't control. The man nodded. "Emily found me when I was bleeding out. She saved me and dragged me to a hideout in the Timberline Ridge Mountains." Jordan's eyes widened. "She's living in the mountains?" The man continued. "No one knows. She lives like a ghost. She hides during the day, and at night she searches for evidence of Marcus's crimes." He swallowed hard and looked straight at Kylan. "She's doing all of this to clear her father's name and to protect you." Kylan's entire body froze. His heart felt like it was about to tear out of his chest. He listened as if he had forgotten how to breathe. "What? Did she say about me? Kylan whispered. The man lowered his head. That you must not be dragged into this, because if you ever found out she had been forced to betray you, you would hurt more than anyone. Jordan glanced at Kylan. Kylan's face was deathly pale, his eyes red with held-back agony. At that moment, the baby in Kylan's arms began to cry, the sound echoing through the room like a knife through the heart. The man looked at the child, his voice breaking. She misses her baby terribly, but she said she had to disappear, otherwise Marcus would kill him. Kylan closed his eyes. The truth cut into his soul like a blade. Emily didn't leave him because she wanted to. She left him to protect their son, to protect him, to protect everything. The evidence Marcus had sent, the threatening messages, the USB drives Emily had handed over, they weren't betrayal. They were coercion, desperation, the price she had paid to keep his family safe. Kylan opened his eyes again, his gaze sharp like burning steel. Where is she on Timberline Ridge? The man pulled out a small map, torn and weather-beaten by snow and rain. A cabin on the northern slope. Take the third trail. She'll hear a car coming. But you must be careful. Marcus is hunting her too. Jordan clenched his fists. Damn it. He wants to silence everyone who knows the truth. The man looked straight at Kylan. She's running out of strength. You have to go before it's too late. Kylan crushed the map in his hand, his other arm holding his son tightly to his chest like his last hope in life. His voice was hoarse, full of pain yet unshakable. Emily, you protected me. Now it's my turn to protect you. Jordan stood up. I'm going with you. Kylan shook his head. No, you stay here and take care of my son. If I fail, he'll only have you left. Jordan choked. You're sure? Kylan lifted his gaze, cold and resolute like a warrior stepping into his final battle. I will bring Emily back, no matter the cost. He turned away, put on his jacket, and grabbed his car keys. The baby in Jordan's arms kept crying, a faint, fragile first call echoing through the room. Ma! Kylan stopped, pressed his lips together. His heart felt crushed. Wait for me, Emily, he whispered into the empty air. I'm coming. And the door closed behind him, opening onto the most dangerous journey of the fallen king's life. The night wind on Timberline Ridge was sharp as a blade, cutting through the dense canopy of trees. In the depths of that pitch-black darkness, a small wooden cabin stood like a lonely dot, the place where Emily had been hiding, alone, unknown, unprotected by anyone. From the outside, it looked peaceful. But inside, it was a battlefield. Maps, USB drives, shredded documents, burner phones scattered across the table. A laptop flickered non-stop with red warning letters. Access denied. Firewall detected. Emily clenched her fists. She had managed to uncover fragments of the Black Ledger, Marcus's secret criminal record. But the more she found, the more viciously she was hunted. And tonight, he had found her trail again. Ash! The click of a gun outside. Emily jolted upright. She shut off every light and rushed to the small window. Through the snow-choked darkness, armed silhouettes were advancing toward the cabin. Marcus's men. Again. Emily held her breath. She pulled the dagger from beneath her mattress and slung the document bag over her shoulder. One of them shouted, "Search everything! She's got to be nearby. This time, when we catch her, we don't let her live." Emily ground her teeth. Her heart pounded violently in her chest. The back door. She crouched low and slipped through the narrow rear exit, snow crunching under her boots. A thunderous boom. The front door of the cabin was blown apart. Emily sprinted into the forest, each breath burning her throat. Bullets screamed through the air. She's there! Heading north! Emily rolled down a muddy, snow-covered slope, dodging a bullet that tore past her head. Another round slammed into a tree just inches from her face. She scrambled up, ducked behind a boulder, and ripped her sleeve to bind the blood streaming from her upper arm. A flashlight beam swept across the dark. This girl's tough as a leech! Kill her! Don't let her survive. Emily bit her lip until it bled. No, she could not die. Not now. She still had her father, her son, Kylan, and the man she had sworn to bring down, Marcus, the chase at the mountain peak. Emily crawled low, slipping through narrow rock crevices, following the trail she had memorized for months. The shadows behind her kept closing in. She glanced at her watch, 1:37 a.m. This was usually when Marcus changed his guard shifts. If she could break through for 30 minutes, she would live. But tonight felt different. A man suddenly stepped into her path. He smiled coldly. "Hello, sweetheart. The boss sends his regards." He raised his gun. Emily shut her eyes for 1 second, then charged straight at him. Her knee slammed into his ribs, her dagger knocked the rifle aside, and her elbow crushed into his jaw. The man staggered back, reeling. Emily vanished again like a ghost. Final escape! And the first sign of Kylan. While running deeper into the forest, Emily heard the distant roar of a car engine. A vehicle driving into Timberline Ridge at this hour? Not locals, not forest patrol. Her heart lurched. Was it Marcus? Or she didn't dare hope. Then a drone swooped down from above, bathing the forest in a cold white beam. Little mouse, found you. A man's voice crackled from the drone speaker, followed by eerie laughter. Emily ran at full speed. A laser sight trailed her back. Half a second slower, and she would be dead. She hurled herself down a slick snow slope and tumbled violently into a tree trunk. Pain exploded through her body. Her ears rang. Sound faded. She forced herself upright. Blinding headlights. A car burst into view and slammed to a stop, snow spraying into the air. The door flew open. A deep, familiar voice, broken with pain and disbelief, called out, "Emily, get in the car!" Emily froze. Her eyes widened, breath hitching. "Ke? Kylan?" No time to think. No time for questions. Gunfire erupted behind them. Kylan leapt forward and grabbed her hand. "There's no time. Get in the car, now!" Emily let her body fall into his arms, the man she thought she would never see again. The doors slammed shut. The car roared down the slope, leaving behind gunshots, Marcus's men shouting, and the cabin where Emily had lived like a ghost for half a year. Kylan looked at her, his voice trembling. You're alive." Emily broke down silently in tears. They both knew this reunion was not the end. It was the beginning of the final war. Kylan's car tore down the rugged mountain road as if death itself were chasing it. Gunfire still echoed behind them, but the distance was finally widening. Kylan's grip on the steering wheel was bone white, his eyes locked on the road ahead. Emily sat in the passenger seat, breathing in ragged gasps, her whole body trembling from blood loss and sheer terror. She still hadn't recovered, and she didn't know what to say to the man she had just met again, in the middle of hell. Kylan glanced at her for a split second. "You're hurt." Emily shook her head, her voice hoarse and weak. It just grazed me." But Kylan could clearly see the blood soaking through her shirt. He ground his teeth. "We're stopping." "No, if we stop, they'll catch up. Keep driving." Kylan burst out, his voice breaking. "Do you want to die again?" Emily fell silent. Kylan's voice cracked completely. "You disappeared twice. Both times I felt like I lost my entire world." Emily turned her face away as tears fell onto her lap. No one spoke for 10 minutes. Finally, Kylan turned into an abandoned house in a deserted hunting area. He pulled Emily inside, bolted the door, and switched on a small flashlight. The light flared up, illuminating his face, and Emily saw it. He had aged so much, no longer the radiant king of the court, but an exhausted father, a man who had been broken, yet had not fallen. Kylan opened the first aid kit, his hands trembling as he bandaged Emily's wound. She whispered, "You shouldn't have come here." Kylan let out a laugh, so painful it cut to the bone. "I gave up my entire career to find you. Do you really think I'd stop at Timberline Ridge?" Emily's tears poured down. "Kylan, I hurt you. I lied to you. Marcus sent you everything already, didn't he?" Kylan tightened the bandage, his voice dropping low. "I received it." Emily lowered her head, her shoulders shaking. "I didn't want to, but if I hadn't done it, my father would have died. If I hadn't left, our son would have been kidnapped. If I hadn't disappeared, you would have." Her voice broke completely. Kylan knelt in front of her, staring straight into her tear-soaked eyes. "Emily, tell me, of everything you were forced to do, was there even one thing you truly wanted to do?" Emily shook her head violently, sobbing. "No, nothing at all. I never wanted to betray you. Never wanted to hurt you. I only wanted you to live." Kylan took a deep breath. He lifted his hand to her cheek, wiping away the burning tears with his thumb. "Then why? Didn't you let me fight alongside you?" Emily looked up, her red, shattered eyes trembling. "Because you are everything I have, and I couldn't lose you." That sentence pierced straight through every doubt, every wound, every torment Kylan had carried for 6 months. He pulled Emily into his arms, holding her as if she might disappear again. Emily buried her face against his shoulder, gripping his shirt like clinging to the last lifeline in a storm. "Kylan, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for leaving you behind. I'm sorry for making you raise our child alone. I'm sorry for hurting you." Kylan placed his hand on the back of her neck and whispered into her hair, "Emily, the most painful thing wasn't that you left. The most painful thing was that you thought I wouldn't forgive you." Emily's body trembled in his arms. She sobbed softly. "Do you still want me?" Kylan looked deep into her eyes. "I never stopped wanting you. Not for a single second." The abandoned house fell silent. Two people once torn apart by lies, despair, and darkness had finally found their way back to each other's hearts. Emily spoke quietly, her voice trembling yet resolute. "I'll tell you everything about Marcus, about the Black Ledger, about why I had to live like a ghost on this mountain." Kylan tightened his grip on her hand, "And I'll help you end all of it." Outside, snow fell in white silence. Inside, two hearts once shattered were slowly stitching themselves back together. The final war was waiting for them. The wind on the slopes of Timberline Ridge howled so fiercely it felt as if it might tear the cabin apart. Inside, the air had grown heavy and suffocating. Emily spread out all the evidence she had gathered over the past year across the table: blurred wire transfer receipts, leaked audio recordings, the Black Ledger, and a list of the shell companies Marcus used to launder money. Kylan stood beside her, silent but with sharp, focused eyes. No longer a fallen basketball star, now a man with purpose, a warrior preparing for war. Emily pointed to one page of data. "This is the strongest evidence, the Black Ledger. It records every transaction Marcus used to manipulate the market and destroy my father." Kylan frowned. "But one copy isn't enough. Marcus will just claim it's fake." Emily nodded. "That's why we need the original." The silence thickened like storm clouds. Kylan narrowed his eyes. "Where is it?" Emily replied. "Blackstone Tower, basement level 3, maximum security." Kylan gave a low, disbelieving laugh. "You say that like I've never broken into anywhere before." Emily shot him a look. "You're a basketball player, not a spy?" "I'm the man who just saved you from over a dozen armed thugs." Emily fell silent. He had a point, and that thought alone made her chest tighten. She inhaled deeply. "Tonight, we go in." Had to break in. Night swallowed the city in a sheet of darkness. They rode in an old pickup truck, blending in with construction traffic to avoid drawing attention. Kylan inspected the stun gun Emily had handed him. He raised a brow. "This is all you're equipping me with?" "They have real guns, and you're not allowed to shoot anyone," Emily said, almost teasing. "You're a public figure." Kylan smirked. "Then I'm our close combat weapon." Emily stared at him, her gaze filled with unspoken fear, admiration, and something deeper. "You've always been the strongest weapon I have, Kylan." He reached over, squeezing her hand. "And you're the only reason I fight." The security cameras glitched and slowed as their signal was hacked. Emily moved carefully, unlocking door after door with precise motions. Kylan stayed behind her, shielding her at every turn. A steel door slid open. Click. Emily's face drained of color. "Damn it! A secondary alarm system." Before they could move, bang! 6 of Marcus's men emerged from both corridors. Emily hissed, "Kylan, watch out!" One man grabbed Kylan's shoulder, but Kylan spun, drove a crushing punch straight into his jaw, and sent him crashing into the wall. Emily ducked as another lunged toward her. She swept his legs, pinned him down, and locked his neck with her elbow. 3 more came at once. Kylan fired the stun gun. One man convulsed and dropped. The second swung a baton, but Kylan blocked it with his forearm, twisted, and slammed him onto the concrete. The last man pulled a knife. Before he could strike, Emily darted forward like lightning. Her fingers caught his wrist, twisted sharply, and tore the blade from his hand. He screamed and fled into the darkness. Emily leaned against the wall, panting. Kylan grabbed her shoulders, scanning her face. "Are you okay?" Emily nodded, sweat glistening on her brow. "We have to hurry. The archive is at the end of the hall." The safe, the final door opened. Inside the archive room, dim emergency lighting cast everything in red tones. In the center sat a titanium safe, untouchable, impenetrable, ominous. Kylan examined the lock. "Can you open it?" Emily stepped closer, her fingers already moving. "Marcus trusted me with this once, but he never knew I memorized the code." Her hands danced over the keypad. The tension in the room thickened. Kylan could hear only 2 things: Emily's soft breaths and the pounding of his own heart. Then click. The safe unlocked. The door cracked open. Inside lay the original Black Ledger, their key to destroying Marcus, their key to freedom. Emily reached inside, and a laser sight landed on her forehead. The safe swung open, revealing the original Black Ledger encrypted USB drives, handwritten notebooks of illegal operations, a list of Marcus's secret partners. Emily's hands trembled. A full year of running, fighting, surviving, all of it for this moment. Kylan, we did it. Kylan took her hand, his voice low and steady. We end him tonight. Emily nodded firmly. We send everything to the media, bypass the police, she said. Marcus has too much power inside the legal system. Only public exposure, with the entire country watching, can bring him down. Kylan smiled faintly. I know exactly who to send it to. As they prepared to leave the building, Kylan's phone vibrated. Caller ID, unknown. He answered. Having fun, nephew? Marcus. His voice oozed like poison through the line. Kylan, you've stepped onto my battlefield. Emily tightened her grip on Kylan's hand, her heart pounding in her throat. Marcus continued. You think you're leaving that building alive? A low laugh followed. I'm standing on the rooftop right now, and I can see every single move you make. Kylan narrowed his eyes and pulled Emily closer to him. If you touch her one more time, I'll be the one who puts you in the ground. Marcus laughed loudly. It's been a long time since a Drexler dared to challenge me. Very well, let's see whether love is stronger than power. Bang! The lights across the building shut off at once. The alarm siren screamed. Footsteps thundered in from every direction. Emily grabbed Kylan's hand. We have to get out of here, now. Kylan nodded, his eyes blazing. We're not running anymore, Emily. We end him. Together, they plunged into the darkness, and the final war officially began. The cabin on the mountaintop was swallowed by darkness. No phone signal, no reception. Only the shrill wind screaming through the cracks in the door, the sound of something terrible drawing near. Kylan pressed his back against the wall, keeping Emily behind him. Outside, shadows surrounded the cabin. Flashlights flared through the pine forest. Marcus's voice rang out, calm, smooth, and deadly cold. Emily, I gave you 3 years to prove your usefulness. Now it's enough. Hand over the evidence. Emily bit her lip, her hands trembling. Not out of fear for herself, but because Kylan was right here. Marcus gave a signal. Metal clicked as safety catches were released. Kylan tightened his grip on Emily's hand. There's no way I'm letting you face this alone ever again. Emily shook her head slightly. If something happens to you, how will our child survive? Kylan choked. Losing her once had shattered him. This time, he would rather die than watch her disappear again. The back window exploded inward. Kylan spun, wrapping his arms around Emily and throwing them both to the floor just as a spray of bullets ripped through the roof. Run! He dragged her up and sprinted down the narrow hallway at the back of the cabin. One of the men blocked the way. Kylan didn't hesitate. He drove a brutal punch into the man's jaw, snatched the gun, and pulled Emily down the mountainside. Gunfire followed. A bullet grazed Kylan's shoulder, blood spraying in a bright streak. Emily screamed, Kylan! He gritted his teeth. I'm fine. Keep running. They tore across a dry streambed, mud and gravel flying under their feet, lungs burning. Behind them, Marcus descended the stone steps calmly, flashlight in hand, like a hunter who knew his prey had nowhere left to run. You really think you're good enough to bring me down, Emily? Emily turned back and shouted, I have all the evidence! You can't escape anymore! Marcus laughed. All the evidence in the world means nothing without your lives. Kylan pulled Emily behind a massive rock at the bottom of the valley. He was gasping, blood soaking his shoulder, but his eyes still blazed with undying resolve. Do you still have the hard drive? Kylan asked. Emily nodded. It has everything. Everything needed to end him. Kylan cupped her cheek. Then we have to live. We have to bring it into the light. Emily's voice broke. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for everything I put you through. Kylan shook his head. None of that matters anymore. After tonight, we stop running. In the distance, engines roared. Another hit squad was closing in. Kylan scanned the area, then seized her hand tightly. Emily, run to the broadcast relay on the hill. Upload the drive from there. I'll hold them off. No, you're bleeding. You can't. Kylan pressed his forehead against hers. I survived this long because I believed in you. Let me protect you properly. Just this once. 1 second, then they kissed, trembling, desperate, but full of hope. Emily ran uphill. Kylan turned to face 3 assassins. A kick, a punch, a gunshot. He fought like a man who had already lost everything once and would not lose again. Gunfire thundered. Emily ran, crying as she ran, terror strangling her heart. She reached the broadcast station, hands shaking as she plugged the hard drive into the system. One button remained. Upload to all US media networks? She took a deep breath, pressed it. The data began to transmit. Marcus's crimes, money laundering, bribery, contract manipulation, destroying her father's company, ordering assaults, everything. The moment the progress bar hit 100 cent, Marcus stood behind her. It's over, Emily. She spun around and saw Kylan collapsed on the ground dozens of meters away, blood soaking his shirt crimson. No! Kylan! Marcus raised his gun. Save him or save yourself? Choose. Emily stepped in front of Kylan. Kill me, but the data is already across the entire United States. You've lost, Marcus. Marcus frowned. Suddenly, the roar of helicopter blades tore through the sky. The FBI, federal police, tactical units. One agent shouted, Marcus Hale, you are under arrest for organized crime, money laundering, and conspiracy to commit murder. Marcus was slammed to the ground. The cold snap of handcuffs ended his empire. Emily dropped to her knees, cradling Kylan. Please, don't close your eyes. Don't leave me. I love you. I love you. Kylan opened his eyes and smiled weakly. At last, you finally said it. Emily broke down completely, clutching him to her chest. The night on the mountaintop was freezing, but the hearts of the two of them burned hotter than ever. 3 months later, Kylan walked out of the recovery ward, carrying his baby in his arms. Emily walked beside him, fingers intertwined with his. Marcus's crimes were exposed, clearing her father's name. Kylan's company recovered after he publicly revealed the truth. At the biggest press conference of the season, Kylan said, I didn't abandon my title. I simply chose something more important, my family. Emily looked at him. He looked at her. The entire stadium erupted. The fallen king stood again for love. Thank you all for accompanying us all the way through The Fallen King, a heartbreaking basketball romance story on the Ambiguous Heart channel. If this story moved you and you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss our next emotional, dramatic, and action-packed series. See you in the upcoming stories.